go as quickly as possible when we get into class. You will do a little verbal presentation where you show your visual research. You describe the 3 cues you're going to do for us and the style in which you're going to do them. Okay? All right, then you are going to compose your lighting cues and set fade times. So part of what we started talking about is basically you are going to record 3 cues and you want to set times for those. I would like to double check and make sure you guys don't just use the default time. The default time I think right now is 3 on the cues. I would like to see that you actually put some thought into the timing of the cues and you set times on the cues. So one of the things you guys could be doing while you guys are looking over and reading the script during these class times is we can also be taking turns at the console and you guys can be refreshing your memory and trying to record a cue, set a time for a cue, and become more familiar with the console. So this class and Thursday's class are about you guys getting the script ready and read and marked up and do your cue list, and then also to be familiar with the console. So you guys are welcome before class and after class. I'll stay a little bit after each class for those of you who want to play with the console a little more. Okay? Then you are going to, I'm just going to make a note that you want to set times on those. Set times as part of recording those cues. And then you're going to run those for us. And we'll have a little discussion kind of like we did with the first project. We'll talk about what worked, what didn't work. And again, you guys, with this, even if something doesn't work, I just want you to try. You're not expected to be perfect out of the bag. This is you guys making an attempt at what you have best. So you guys should have your swatch books to help you choose color. And again, you can choose between 00 and Roscoe 132, and we should have most of that color. You should have your magic sheet and be ready to go on this. Do I have any questions so far on this? Do we kind of want to look at the first page of the play together and talk about how to do, the very last thing that's going to be due, hopefully at the end of class on this Thursday, is a cue sheet. And we're going to go a little bit more into that right now. We talked a little bit about cue sheets before. And if we're reading through this play, you guys are looking at that first page. Now I know some of you are going to be like, I hate this play. And then others of you are going to be like, oh, it's a nice, sweet play. It's just fine. And I had to tell my students last semester, do you think I love every single play I do? I average 5 shows a month, you guys. To love every single show when I'm doing 5 shows a month is a little tough. You have shows where you're like, oh, I'm not sure I like this show. You know, sometimes it's you don't like the script. Sometimes it's you don't like the production. You know, there's different variations. So at different times in your life, and if you guys are actors or dancers, there's going to be shows where you're like, not really fond of this one. It's not my favorite, but it's going to happen. And this can be a fun show, and it can be something that you guys are like, oh, why are we doing this? So understand that that happens in life, and it may happen here. One of the reasons I choose this is because as you read through it, you'll see that the set is minimal. This is a lighting show, which is one of the reasons I want you guys to do a script breakdown on this one. It makes you think about the lighting more, what you're doing with it, how you're setting location, time of day, all of that kind of stuff. This is the kind of show that makes you think about it more because it uses very little set. Now, it could use more set, and people have done more set with it. But the idea with the style of this show is that it's all about lighting. Okay? So, if we're looking at the very first page of Act 1, and we're kind of reading through it, it says, no curtain, no scenery. The audience arriving sees an empty stage in half light. So right there in that first sentence, we already have a statement about what the lighting concept is sort of doing there. So what I would normally do is I would either highlight or underline or do something to kind of indicate to myself that that's kind of the state they're thinking of. And then if I had a director, I would say, are we doing the style that the script is calling for? Because the script is calling for something pretty explicit. In this project, you guys are sort of the director and the lighting designer. You guys get to choose your approach to how you're doing the play. So if you want to do something a little bit different than what they're calling for, you can. There is that liberty. But again, you've already got half light is kind of your statement for people to walk into. Then it says, presently the stage manager, hat on and pipe in mouth, enters and begins placing a table and 3 chairs downstage left and a table and 3 chairs downstage right. He also places a low bench at the corner of what will be the web house, left. Left and right are from the point of view of the actor facing the audience. Up is towards the back wall. As the house lights go down, he has finished setting the stage and leaning against the right proscenium pillar, watches as the late arrivals in the audience. When the auditorium is in complete darkness, he speaks. So where so far have you guys seen in that first paragraph indications of lighting? So half light was the first one. So let's kind of, what we're going to do is I'm going to help you start making a cue sheet for this, basically. So basically, the most important thing as we go through is like, normally what I would do is a cue number would be my first column. Then I would do, and the columns can always be, this is just like one example of how to do it. This would be the stage direction or cue line. Stage direction or cue line. And then I might have what I'm thinking for lighting. What, or a description of lighting. What happens? What happens? These are longer descriptions than I usually do. But. Okay. So stage direction. So let's say cue number 1 is, it says half light. Now, that could be a couple of different things. It could be that my house lights are kind of dim. It could be that the stage lighting is kind of dim. One of the things I want you guys to do with this one is to start in visualizing what that half light might be. As you read, the idea would be to read through the whole play and kind of get an overall concept of it, and then you can decide what that half light is. Is the half light something that indicates all the houses in the town? Is the half light something that looks like a bare stage, and then we create the town later? These are different things you guys can think about, like what is that half-light lighting? So one of the things you would describe here, depending on the style you choose, is you could say, I'm doing a dim, empty stage. Or, if you're saying that the town is already present on stage, maybe you already have people on stage, and you're not doing a dim, empty stage, you're doing a low indication of everyone's houses, low light on houses. Okay? Do you see how that could be a couple of different choices, depending on how you guys choose to approach it? So it could be that it's an empty theater and you're in kind of a work light state, and then the theatrical event springs out of that. Or it could be that it's already present and you're kind of lighting it low so you already have indications of the different areas of the town. So it all depends on what you guys want to do, and there's other choices to be made there as well. So this is just an example. What would be another indication of a lighting change just in that first paragraph?
Where it says, as the house lights go down.
Okay. So house lights go down. So, one of the other things I do usually is cue number, and then I do like page number would be another column. So right now we're on page 1, or is it 2 here? Actually, it's 3. So page 3 is our first Q1. And then Q2 would be house lights go down. And if that's pretty self-explanatory, I just might do a ditto mark. Like, I'm doing what they say there in the script, or something like that. What would be the third, maybe a third cue in there? Complete darkness. So, possible cue 3. And again, this depends on how you choose to open the play. We're still on page 3. All of these are on page 3. Complete darkness. Now, do we think it's really complete darkness? What do we think might be going on there?
The half light on stage is still on.
The half light on stage might still be on. What about our stage manager character? Is he probably lit?
What is it, follows up?
Could be a follow spot. So it could be something like follow spot on stage manager. And SM is the abbreviation for that. Stage manager. And then maybe stage is still low. Stage still low. That kind of thing. So that is what we're doing when we make up a cue list. We're basically saying, this is my cue. This is where my stage manager can find it, the page number I can find it on. This is either the stage direction, or somebody says, oh, the moon is so bright. That kind of thing. That can be a cue line where all of a sudden you light the moon or something like that. So there's a lot of liberty to be had here about whether you guys choose to be a little more realistic, a little less realistic. You guys can take it, it's sort of, you know, you can be totally abstract with this, you can be hyper-realistic. You basically want to kind of read through and choose what you're doing. And that's for you guys to kind of develop as partners. Okay? All right? So cue list will be due at the end of this Thursday's class. So right now you guys have time to go through and kind of start reading it together and kind of maybe